Story number 11. A small town had a city dump where people could leave their own garbage. A lot of people used to load their garbage cans into the backs of their cars and take them to the dump to get rid of them, instead of waiting for them to be collected from their homes or offices. One evening, the owner of a store in this town put his garbage cans in his van and drove to the dump. He had just left his garbage there when a young man arrived in a very old, beat-up car, turned around, drove backwards down the hill where the garbage was piled, and unloaded his. While he was doing this, the engine of his car died. He tried to start it again several times, but he wasn't successful. So he finally said to the driver of the van, "Could you please give my car a push?" "Which way?" the man answered.
Now answer these questions. 1. What did a lot of people do with their garbage cans? 2. What was the young man's car like? 3. What did he do when he came to the garbage dump? 4. Why couldn't he drive away again? 5. What did the young man ask the driver of the van to do? 6. What did the driver answer? Story number 12. Mr. Harris had never married, and he lived in a small house by himself. He was always very careful about what he ate and drank, and he never went out when the weather was cold. He was always afraid that he was getting some terrible disease, so he often went to see his doctor, and the doctor was getting very tired of his patients' imagined illnesses, because he had more important work to do. Then, one day, Mr. Harris hurried into the doctor's office and told him he was sure he had a certain terrible disease which he had read about in the newspaper. He showed the doctor the article. The doctor read it carefully and then said, "But Mr. Harris, people don't know when they have this disease. There are no symptoms, and they feel very good." "Oh, my goodness," said Mr. Harris. "I thought so. That's just how I feel."
Now answer these questions. 1. Why did Mr. Harris often go to see his doctor? 2. How did the doctor feel about this? 3. What did Mr. Harris show the doctor one day? 4. What did the doctor do with this? 5. What did the doctor say to Mr. Harris? 6. What did Mr. Harris answer? Story number 13. Fred had just become the captain of a small ship which carried things from one port to another along the coast. One day, he had to take the ship up a river into a small port. He knew that the river had plenty of channels, and that some of them were very shallow and dangerous. So he decided to wait until he saw a local boat going up the river and then follow it. After half an hour, he saw a boat start to go up the river, so he began to follow it. He followed it through various channels until both of the boats hit sand under the water and stopped. Then the captain of the local boat came to the side and shouted to the captain of the boat that had followed him, "We came here to get a load of sand. What did you come to get?"
Now answer these questions. 1. What kind of boat was Fred the captain of? 2. Why didn't he want to go up the river alone? 3. What did he wait for? 4. Did the local boat lead him to the port? 5. Where did it lead him? 6. What had the local boat come to collect? Story number 14. A small store sold a lot of nice jewelry, and the owner was always very careful to prevent people from stealing it. One day, a thief came and tried to steal a beautiful necklace, but the owner of the store caught him immediately and went to the telephone to call the police to come and arrest him. "Please don't do that," the thief said. "I have a wife and 3 children at home, and I'll pay for the necklace." The owner of the store felt sorry for the man, and he didn't want to have a lot of trouble with the police, so he accepted the man's offer to pay for the necklace and went to prepare a bill for it. But when he gave it to the thief, the man looked disturbed and said, "I wasn't intending to get anything as expensive as that. Do you have something cheaper?"
Now answer these questions. 1. What did the store owner catch a man doing? 2. What did the store owner do? 3. What did the thief say? 4. Why did the store owner accept the man's offer? 5. What did the store owner do? 6. What did the thief say then? Story number 15. Mr. Smith left his car outside his apartment one night as usual, but when he came down the next morning to go to his office, he discovered that the car wasn't there. He called the police and told them what had happened, and they said that they would try to find the car. When Mr. Smith came home from his office that evening, the car was back again in its usual place in front of his house. He examined it carefully to see whether it had been damaged and found 2 theater tickets on one of the seats and a letter which said, "We're very sorry. We took your car because of an emergency." Mr. and Mrs. Smith went to the theater with the 2 tickets the next night and enjoyed themselves very much. When they got home, they found that thieves had taken almost everything they had had in their apartment.
Now answer these questions. 1. What did Mr. Smith discover when he left his apartment one morning? 2. What did he do about this? 3. What did he see when he got back home that evening? 4. What did he find on one of the seats? 5. What did Mr. and Mrs. Smith do with the tickets? 6. What happened when they got home? Story number 16. Jimmy was 7 years old. He got an allowance from his parents every week, but he wasted a lot of it on things which he saw in the stores and suddenly wanted to buy, although he didn't need them. One day, his mother gave him a notebook and said, "Now, Jimmy, whenever you buy anything, I want you to write it down in this book, and write down the price, too. Then you can look at it again when your money's all gone, and you won't waste so much money next time." After a week, Jimmy said to his mother, "Do you know, Mommy, before I spend any money now, I really stop and think." His mother was very pleased and thought, "Well, he's learned the value of money now." But she wasn't so happy when he added, "Yes, before I buy anything, I always ask myself, am I going to be able to spell that in my notebook?"
Now answer these questions. 1. What happened to Jimmy's allowance every week? 2. What did his mother give him then? 3. Why did she give it to him? 4. What did Jimmy say to his mother after a week? 5. What did she think? 6. What did Jimmy say then? Story number 17. Tom had retired and lived by himself a long way from town. He hardly ever left his home. But one day he went into town to buy some things in the market. And after he had bought them, he went into a restaurant and sat down at a table by himself. When he looked around, he saw several old people put eyeglasses on before reading their newspapers. So after lunch, he decided to go to a store to buy himself some glasses too. He walked along the road and soon found a store. The man in the store made him try on a lot of glasses, but Tom always said, "No, I can't read with these." The man became more and more puzzled until finally he said, "Excuse me, but can you read at all?" "No, of course I can't," Tom said angrily. "If I was already able to read, do you think I would have come here to buy glasses?"
Now answer these questions. 1. What did Tom see in a restaurant? 2. What did he decide to do? 3. What did the man in the store do? 4. What did Tom say each time? 5. What did the man finally ask Tom? 6. What did Tom answer? Story number 18. John had a new car, but it was in the garage for repairs, so he borrowed his wife's old car one evening. He found that it didn't have much gas in the tank, so he drove to a service station and filled it up. But then the car wouldn't start. He thought there was probably something loose in the battery, so he took a small wrench out of his pocket and hit the battery with it. The car started at once. Then John saw that one of the lights was not working either. There's something loose there, too, he thought. He hit it on the side with his wrench, and it lit up right away. The garage man was watching, and then he ran over to John and said, "If you ever want to sell your car, I don't want it, but I'd be very happy to make you an offer for that wrench."
Now answer these questions. 1. Why did John take his wife's car to a service station? 2. What did John think and then do when his wife's car wouldn't start? 3. What did John see after that? 4. What did he think and then do about it? 5. Who was watching John? 6. What did the garage man say to him? Story number 19. A math teacher had been teaching his class all about fractions for the past week, and now he wanted to find out how much they had been able to remember. So he asked one of the boys in the class, "If I cut a piece of meat into 2 pieces, what would I get?" "Halves," answered the student at once. "Good," said the teacher. "And if I cut each piece in half again?" "Fourths," answered the next student. "And if I cut it again, Robert?" the teacher went on. "Eighths," answered Robert. "Yes," said the teacher, nodding to the next boy. "And again?" "Sixteenths, sir," was the answer. "Good," said the teacher. "And once more, Lisa." 32nds, answered Lisa, after thinking for a few seconds. "Yes, that's right." "And again?" the teacher continued. "Hamburger meat," answered the last student, who thought that all of these questions were becoming a little silly.
Now answer these questions. 1. What had the math teacher been teaching? 2. What was his first question? 3. What was the first student's answer? 4. What was the last fraction they reached? 5. What did the last student say? 6. Why did he answer like that? Story number 20. George worked in San Francisco. He wasn't married, and he usually had his lunch and occasionally his dinner in small restaurants. One evening, he decided to go to an expensive restaurant, and when he got in, he saw a large, heavy man who he had not seen for several years, sitting by himself at a table. He thought for a few moments and then remembered the man's name, so he went up to him and said politely, "Hello, Mr. Gray. How's business?" "Oh, it's not good at all," the large man answered. George looked at the expensive food and wine on Mr. Gray's table and was surprised. "It certainly doesn't look as if your business is bad," he said. "Well," Mr. Gray answered sadly, "I'm afraid you're wrong. A few years ago I was doing very well, and I could afford to bring my wife to this place for dinner too."
Now answer these questions. 1. Where did George usually eat? 2. Where did he go one evening? 3. Who did he see there? 4. How was Mr. Gray's business doing? 5. Why was George surprised? 6. What did Mr. Gray say to him then?